I'd like to welcome my audience and thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation, Geriatric Care Management, a Personal Approach. I'm here today to introduce you to a very unique long-term care management model. This management model offers a wide range of services that can help preserve the dignity of growing old and more dependent without bothering busy family members and friends with the inconvenience or burden of caring for you. You remain in control of the decision-making for as long as possible, with an advocate, the care manager, standing by your side to offer guidance, advice, resources, and hands-on full-service management as changes brought on by the natural aging process occur. First, let me introduce myself. I graduated from Long Beach State with a degree in business administration with an emphasis in finance and investment. Shortly after graduating, I moved to Fresno, following my husband, a family doctor, to help him establish a private medical practice. After earning my Master's of Business Administration from Fresno State University, I went on to work in real estate and finance for the next 26 years. During that time, I continued to manage my husband's medical practice and raise a family. In 2008, the home loan industry went through some major changes, and at the time, my husband's practice was experiencing some staffing challenges that began to affect productivity. I went into the office to help get things organized and see what I could do, and found that I enjoyed it so much that I stayed on as manager and began working the front desk. During that time, I've had the opportunity to work with dozens of elderly patients who've needed help and advice, and as a result, I began accumulating knowledge about the wide range of services available to the elderly population. Soon I became recognized as the senior specialist in the office. The decision to devote myself to geriatric care management full-time seemed a natural transition and a good fit for my independent nature and management problem-solving personality. Let's take a moment to look at our current aging population. Most of you are aware that in the past 150 to 200 years, life expectancy has increased and is expected to continue to increase for a variety of reasons. Significant factors in longevity include genetics and childbirth survival, access to and improvements in health care, and lifestyle changes which include emphasis on and improvements in hygiene and nutrition, and in the benefits of proper diet and regular exercise. We are also regularly reminded that baby boomers make up a significantly higher percentage of the population, and that number continues to grow, expecting to double by the year 2030. In addition, that segment of the population has managed to amass an unprecedented amount of wealth that allows members of that group, of which I am one, to be more selective in long-term care options. A wide variety of options are currently available to us, including private pay caregivers and other in-home services that will allow us to remain in our homes safely and comfortably for years longer than previous generations. According to a 2015 U.S. Census Bureau study, 78 million Americans 50 years or older as of 2001 controlled 67% of the country's wealth, or $28 trillion. Baby boomers' median household income is 61% greater than those born before 1946 and 55% greater than babies born after 1964. As a result of this tremendous increase in wealth, these individuals are likely to fall outside of the public services systems. They simply will not qualify for senior services available through federal, state, and local programs. However, most seniors, in an effort to maintain independence, will be willing to pay for private care, which will include the option of hiring a geriatric care manager. This option is what I'd like to introduce and discuss with you today. Aging, as we all know, is both inevitable and unpredictable. Some of us will be blessed with fewer health issues and our decline will be gradual. Those who have suffered with chronic illness or injuries may be looking at a swifter decline, either physically, mentally, or both. It is likely that at some point we will not be able to enjoy all of the activities that we at one time took for granted. At some point in each of our lives, some sooner, others later, we will begin to become less and less active. It may come as a result of a fall or other injury that initially sets us back. The natural aging of our joints may cause a little more pain than we're able to tolerate. That leads to increased levels of exhaustion, which forces us to rest for longer periods. With increased inactivity comes greater acceleration of physical decline. The less active we are, the weaker we become. With time, it becomes more difficult to return to previous levels of activity, and at some point that new condition becomes our norm. That can often lead to depression, isolation, and without intervention, our independence is threatened. We are all aware of the growing number of assisted living, skilled nursing, and memory care centers that are popping up on every corner. These facilities are in growing demand because of the factors I've just mentioned. Living longer does not guarantee living better. I'm here to suggest that there is a better alternative. At some point in each of our lives, we will find that it will be necessary to get some help with daily activities. For most of us, asking for help is probably going to be difficult, knowing when to ask, as well as knowing who to ask. As mentioned earlier, age-related challenges can come gradually or suddenly, and because of that unpredictability and our desire for long-term independence, it is always a good idea to make changes to our environment early, before an unforeseen event forces the issue. Waiting too long can often lead to poor decision-making or band-aid solutions, solving the immediate problem but not taking the time to anticipate future events that, with insight and help, can be avoided. So once you make the decision to get some help, you begin to think about who to ask. Who do you feel you can trust? That decision will depend on the types of things you have determined that you need help with now. At the same time, you'll need to consider what you anticipate needing help with in the near future, so that that base is covered when the time comes. How far ahead should you plan? What are the options? What resources are available in the area? Can you afford the care that you'll need in the long run? There's been a lot written about living in the now, leaving the past behind, avoiding regrets, and at the same time trying to avoid worrying about the future that you have no control over. That works well for most of our lives, but common sense tells us that a little planning can go a long way towards ensuring a greater degree of confidence and stress reduction as the aging process takes its toll. The Geriatric Care Manager can help with all of those concerns. The manager becomes your very personal, comprehensive advisor, helping you manage your long-term, age-related issues before they become crises. Geriatric care managers are independent, private pay personal advocates hired by the client, you, a family member, medical professional, or agency to make assessments, focus on identifying ways to solve specific problems, and anticipate problem areas in an effort to make common sense recommendations to ensure longer periods of independence in a comfortable and safe environment. We are experienced and trained to tackle a wide range of challenges relating to the aging process. The care manager is not a caregiver or a medical service provider, but more of an advisor, a personal advocate and confidant to the client and close family members. We become the aging client's personal problem solver. Let's look at a few examples of how a geriatric care manager can help and become an important part of your care team. Consider for a moment your day-to-day activities. At some point, you may find that you've not been able to keep up with everyday chores or discovered that you feel a bit overwhelmed with some routine activities that once came easily. You may be suffering with some mild physical or cognitive challenges that suggest that you begin to explore the option of delegating some of the responsibilities around the house. In this case, you might call on one of your adult children for help or suggestions. On the other hand, you may not want to add to their busy lives, or it may be inconvenient. They might live in another town or state. You also have an overwhelming desire to remain independent and want to continue to remain in charge of your life and decisions related to activities in your home, to hold on to that level of independence that you've grown accustomed to throughout your adult life. Hiring a geriatric care manager might become a reasonable first step. After a brief initial consultation, the care manager will begin to focus on any immediate problem or the concern that may have prompted the call. Next, the care manager will conduct the necessary assessments, such as a home safety assessment, taking into consideration your specific level of physical functionality, and develop a plan of care with emphasis on safety and comfort. Knowing what may be needed now and in the future is one thing. Knowing who to call and following through with details necessary to put a plan into action can be terribly frustrating for older adults who may not have access or knowledge of computers and other technologies that have become so critical these days. Physical challenges such as failing hearing and eyesight can severely impair efforts to obtain necessary equipment or hire help. Those clients with advancing cognitive decline may not even recognize the need in the first place or find the task of recruiting the right person for specific tasks simply overwhelming. There are a number of resources available to seniors who live alone and need help, but weeding through the multitudes of options can be daunting. Just getting someone on the phone these days seems to be challenging. Without a computer and an email address, you can feel like you live on another planet. Then there are applications to fill out and phone trees to navigate. There's also the problem of determining whether the service or vendor is reputable. This can lead to indecision without someone to help. Once the care manager has completed the necessary assessments and a plan of care is agreed upon, the real work begins. The manager makes necessary phone calls and referrals to reputable vendors and oversees the job to be sure that it's completed properly and the client is treated fairly. She can make appointments to interview caregivers, in-home aides, and can even accompany the client to medical appointments as a second set of eyes and ears. Together, the client and the manager determine which tasks need attention, and the manager develops systems to handle those tasks. Some examples are overseeing the bill paying process, managing medications, dealing with mail, making arrangements for alternative transportation, and endless other tasks as they become necessary. At this point, it's important to understand the difference between medical case management, in-home care agencies, and geriatric care managers. Medical case management, operating as home health agencies, are made up of social workers, nurses, physical and occupational therapists employed by organizations that bill Medicare or private insurance companies. These services require medical necessity for payment and generally a specific range of criteria for qualification. In the government program system, services are distributed to those with the highest need, usually based on income qualifications and other requirements such as physical or mental disability, and are paid through government programs funded by federal or local organizations. Private pay in-home care services can help with activities of daily living and are not covered by insurance. They can help with a wide variety of tasks in your home, such as light housekeeping, meal preparation, bathing, dressing, and grocery shopping. These caregivers are employed by agencies who oversee their work. If you were to need these types of services, your care manager could help you sort through the overwhelming number of agencies available in your area make necessary appointments, sit in on interviews, and help you determine the level of care required within your budget. Again, keep in mind these services must be paid for privately. There are some services that may be paid for by a long-term care insurance plan, however. Your care manager can help you determine if you have benefits that can help and can assist in applying for those benefits. Once the decision to partner with a geriatric care manager is made, it will become very important to properly assess the client's condition in order to make the appropriate recommendations. Immediate problem areas are dealt with first, then those that are anticipated due to cognitive or physical decline can be evaluated. An experienced geriatric care manager will take a great deal of care to perform comprehensive examinations of all factors related to the individual client and consider how each of the factors will affect their overall well-being. Social and psychological issues can present more complex challenges for the care manager. Grief is an overwhelming factor for clients who have recently lost a spouse or close relation. Dealing with grief and loss will likely need to involve medical trained personnel, support groups, and possibly medication. The experienced care manager can recognize and recommend any of those options. As the relationship continues, the care manager might complete economic and legal assessments and can personally help organize or prepare end-of-life documentation such as living wills, advance directives, and conduct a thorough overview of the financial condition of the client. All of these services, once completed, will help the client determine what types of long-term services might be needed in the immediate and distant future, how much these services will cost, and how they will be managed. Each assessment will be very comprehensive and a list of recommendations will be presented in the plan of care. Obviously, every potential problem cannot be corrected either due to financial or other constraints. The list of recommendations will be reviewed and prioritized. As mentioned earlier, the care manager is available to help oversee the implementation of home modifications, for instance, or can leave it to the client, family, or caregiver to remedy as time and expertise and funds permit. It's important to emphasize that the contract between the client and the geriatric care manager is flexible and dynamic and is designed to adapt to the changing needs of the client. Once the immediate problems are under control and the client's situation is stabilized, the care manager may not need to be quite as involved. Until other services are required, the manager remains on call to step in at any time it becomes necessary. Recommendations resulting from the assessment process will also include a list of clearly stated goals that, once agreed upon by all parties, will be expected to be met before the job is considered done. Once again, as physical and cognitive condition changes, so will the recommendations to meet those stated goals. They would likely be expanded to include conditions that were not considered when the geriatric care manager was first contacted. At any time, the client and the care manager can revisit or add to the plan of care, adding duties that were not initially addressed. The care manager may begin to witness changes that demand a revision in the plan and may be forced to make recommendations either to the client, family, or caregiver that were not necessary earlier. Again, the relationship is dynamic in nature, just like the aging process. Each individual will experience an entirely unique set of challenges. The manager needs to be ready to address any of those challenges if and when they arise. One very important task of the geriatric care manager is to help the client get organized. The first step might be to gather all of the important contacts, account numbers, safe deposit boxes and key locations, insurance policies, and other important items related to the client. This can be an arduous process that is often neglected due to its complexity. The care manager can help by offering a tool called the Information for Life Kit that can help organize all of your vital information. The care manager can work with you or a family member to complete the 40-page booklet and help prepare and incorporate any missing documents, such as living wills or simple powers of attorney. Once completed, this kit will become invaluable to family and trusted agents in the event of incapacity or death. I would also like to emphasize that this tool is not just for seniors and is a great idea for adults of all ages. It's never too soon to begin the process of getting organized. Hiring a geriatric care manager is a big step in anyone's life. The relationship between the care manager and client is very personal because the client will be discussing weaknesses and concerns about themselves that may feel uncomfortable at first. The initial consultation is always complimentary and is a chance to meet one another and get a clear understanding of the client's needs and the geriatric care manager's role. So how do you decide when to hire a care manager? That obviously depends on a lot of factors, including your overall health, your family history, your financial condition, and your family dynamic. If you've been realistic about the aging process in general, proactive as to home safety, diligent in preparing the necessary paperwork to appoint trusted agents in case of a serious injury or incapacity, have contingency plans in place to handle unforeseen illness, and have a trusted advisor, family member, or friend that you can trust with important and difficult decisions as you grow older, then perhaps hiring this type of service is not necessary or justified. One way to think about the hiring of a geriatric care manager is that you are making an investment in your future. The relationship becomes both a short-term and long-term investment in your overall well-being, safety, and comfort as the effects of aging play out in your life. There are no guarantees, but chances are good that by making both an intellectual and financial commitment to hire a care manager early, who will work directly with you every step of the way, you can feel more secure that important decisions are made, pitfalls are avoided, and the resources and services that will help you maintain an independent living arrangement are in place. Just like any investment, the sooner you buy in, the more benefits you will accumulate over time. The sooner you begin to develop the bond with your care manager, the better she can help you if something unforeseen happens. Your relationship with a trusted partner such as a geriatric care manager will help you to avoid some very costly future expenses, remain in your home longer, and generally feel better overall knowing that someone has got your back. Remember that aging is inevitable and unpredictable. You never know when something can happen that will affect the way you currently live, but be sure to recognize that your life will likely not remain the same as the aging process plays its part in your life. To summarize, we've discussed the increase in the aging population and the increasing needs of the aging community. Since we know that aging is both inevitable and unpredictable, preparing ahead is essential in order to maintain a smooth transition into the next chapter of our lives. The wealthy baby boomer generation can afford to choose from a wider range of long-term care options not available to previous generations. The internet, magazines, and TV bombard us with a wide range of products and services for the elderly, which makes self-management overwhelming and also difficult to know who to trust. The geriatric care manager is an independent private pay advocate and advisor to the aging client, family, and caregivers. We are trained to handle a wide range of challenges, complete assessments, make and oversee recommendations, and provide an array of resources that can help in many age-related situations. We can help organize personal information, prepare simple end-of-life documents, and is generally available to the client at any time to make adjustments to the care plan as challenges arise. The relationship between the geriatric care manager and client is extremely personal, and over time the manager will likely become the client's most trusted confidant and advocate. The family can feel relatively confident that their aging loved one is being looked after and challenges are being addressed in a timely manner. Besides maintaining the dignity of the client, whose physical and mental condition may be in decline, the major objective of the relationship is to maintain safety and comfort through assessments, recommendations, and general managing of challenges facing the client as they arise. Hiring a competent care manager is an investment that will pay dividends towards protecting the well-being and independence of the aging client and save money in the long run. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I invite you to visit my website for more information or contact me directly by phone or email to discuss how I can help you and your aging loved one.